welcome, 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 welcome to the Rum.
Welcome to the Rum.
This is Bryan.
And this is Constantine.
And
we are
the
the
Rum.
Rum.
I hope that the internet made us do that simpatico, Constantine. Maybe I can edit that in post. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll hit that in post.
But hey, champion. Everybody. Yeah, and the Rum runner-up, which for our lovely guests, I'm the Rum champion on Instagram. I picked the name because of Game of Thrones. Constantine, however, picked his Instagram name as the Rum runner-up, which, I mean, there's so many other better names out there. But you know what? This is perfect, Constantine, because that means that in an alternate universe, you're Batman and I'm Robin. Or flip that,
you can't always win. Sometimes it's good to be,
sometimes.
To be there may have been some rum involved in choosing that name as well.
Yeah, if you ain't first, you're last. Okay, sorry. Enough of the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. So first and foremost, thank you to all of our lovely listeners. Constantine, we have over 1,500 listens, and we're available. Where are we available, Constantine?
We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music. Used to be Google, but I guess they're going away. Is that right? The Google podcast?
Apparently, RIP Google.
Rest in peace. All right. How many subscribers do we have now?
We have 180 subscribers. So thanks for everybody that's tuned in. Please do continue to tell all your friends about us as we continue to talk rum and do dumb movie quotes and all sorts of the things that we do. So wherever you find your podcasts, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Constantine, kick us off with some updates.
Some updates. Well, first of all, it's raining cats and dogs in Fiji. It's our summer here. We're deep in the rainy season, so which is good because all that sugar cane is going to get nice and tall for us to harvest and make some rum a few months from now. One just update I wanted to share with you guys. We talked last time about the Fiji Rum and Tiki Festival 2025. It's happening. We've got a venue. Once we get that contract signed, we'll get the venue out. We'll get dates out so that all of you can come enjoy rum, enjoy some of the tiki stuff. We're doing that tiki crossover because for Bryan and I, we both kind of got into the tiki thing and that led us into rum. We know there's some of that crossover. But the other thing too is we're building a distillery here in Fiji. And like our guests are going to share with you today, you get into the culture of the place you are, of the place you're building. And we want to share that with everyone else. Tiki was inspired by the cultures of the South Pacific. Polynesia gets a lot of attention, but quite honestly, there's as much or maybe more Melanesian influence in the tiki world. So we want people to come down into deep in the heart of Melanesia, meet some of the artisans, meet some of the storytellers, hear what it's all about. And while you're here, we'll enjoy some rum. We'll have some of the great producers from the region and from the world, hopefully coming here to share what they're producing with you. And in Fiji, we do make a little rum here, but it's not a rum culture. So we want to also share that with all my friends here in Fiji. So that's going to happen 2025. Follow along on our social media. We'll get that focused social media up eventually, and we'll give you that in the next update. What is happening with you, Bryan?
Ooh, okay, quick update. So Rum Curious Club events, we've got 2 with Rum Barbancourt. We have one actually tomorrow on the 12th. And by the time everybody's listening to this, it'll be in the past. It's sold out, so you can't come anyways. The next one that we have is on the 26th down in Long Beach. So we're exploring the soul of Haiti. April, we've actually got Forbidden Island with Gosling's Rum. And then I'm officially, at least from a consulting perspective, signed on with Barbancourt and Demerara Distillers Limited from now until the end of the year. So excited to team up with them to do a lot of different activations. We have a Rum Curious tasting down in Long Beach on the 21st, and that's going to be really fun and exciting. And I just got back from Puerto Rico. Great time. If you've never been to Puerto Rico, you absolutely have to go. So see, the first time I said it like a gringo, the next time I said it like a Boricua. So, you get the best of both worlds. The one thing that I do want to say, though, is there's a lot of great distilleries, Ron Artesano, San Juan Artisan Distillers, but I had a really unexpected gift. So hang on, let me pull it down. I know that we only do audio, but for our guests, this you can't really see, but it's etched the rum champion. This is a single bottle creation, so it's the only one that exists, that Troy Arquiza, the global master blender of Bacardi, not Bacardi, made, and it's 120 proof. So I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah.
I think this is completely experimental, but I tell Bacardi or Bacardi, Don Q, Florida Kanye, hey, let's get the AVB up just a smidgy widgy. Anyways, that's everything that's going on with me. Facebook group, we're up to 650 members now. But enough about me, enough about you, Constantine. We have two amazing guests today. Who do we got,
Absolutely.
Constantine? We've got Daniel Pacheco from Samai in Cambodia. And yes, they make rum in Cambodia, everybody, and it's fan freaking tastic. And Antoine, because I'm a dumb American, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I know I'm going to butcher it otherwise.
My last name is Poircuitte. In English, the meaning is cooked pear.
Oh, Poircuitte.
Nice.
Did I say that?
Because
Okay,
apparently my
still
ancestor
American.
was alcohol makers with a specialty in the pear spirits, and that gave my
Oh,
family name.
no kidding.
Nice.
We're gonna unpack that. And Antoine is from Sampan, which it is the actual brand, but it's the Indochine. I know I'm saying that incorrectly to Antoine. Dumb American, so sorry. In Vietnam. And so really we're thrilled to have this conversation. As our listeners know, we really enjoy featuring rums from unusual places. Unusual is the wrong word, but when we tell people, oh, I've had sampan, it's from Vietnam, people get gobsmacked and go, oh my God, they distill rum in Vietnam. Yeah. Or Cambodia, like the Kempot pepper rum, Daniel, I've told so many people about. So, anyways, both of you, thank you so much for joining. Daniel, it's great to have you. Do we want to do quick intros for our guests? Allow them to say hey, I suppose, because otherwise we'll just keep talking. What do you think, Constantine?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into that, let's just see what everyone's drinking. I see everyone's
Oh,
got some rum in
right.
their hands, it looks like. I'll go first. I'm drinking this Inner Circle rum with the green dot on it. If you see the green dot, overproof rum, it's a brand out of Australia, but this is 100% hot still Fijian rum, which is absolutely delicious. Hard to find these days, but if you can find it, definitely snap that up. Daniel, I've seen you drinking several different things. It looks like over there. Are you doing samples?
Yeah, that's my job here, no? It's 9 a.m. already drinking. No, enjoying the one that Brian mentioned, the Campo Pepper Rum. It's hard to see here with the background, but yeah, it's well, I guess we'll talk a bit more about it, how it came about, but it's my go-to for sure.
Beautiful.
Wow. Love it.
Antoine, how
And
about you? Also drinking in the morning?
I don't
are
know, not yet.
Not yet.
Actually,
it's a
yeah.
bit early, you psychos.
But I
Never
will
too early.
definitely take a glass soon.
Very fair. See, he's the responsible one. And then Constantine, to close us out, I'm having a single barrel of Naison. And this I just couldn't help but pick up because it actually started in a cognac cask and then was finished in a bourbon cask. So it's
Nice.
one of those very interesting ones where I've never seen something start in anything but bourbon or New American oak. Definitely never seen anything start in cognac. And Naissant is very near and dear to my heart. Plus, I mean, Zepol Carré is just, it's the best way to say it. So I need to get a shirt that says Zepol Carré all day.
Nice. Nason's making some great rum right now. We've got an amazing show today. As Brian said, people think rum, they think Caribbean, almost always. We've been trying to show that there's rum all over the world that's great. Today we've got Cambodia, Vietnam, producing rums under the brand Samai and Sampan. But what's interesting is just by hearing the names, you can think, okay, we got rum from Cambodia and Vietnam, but these names don't quite sound Cambodian and Vietnamese. So, I'd like for you guys to introduce yourself, but also just take a minute and tell us, how did you guys get to the places you're in and then into building those distilleries where you are? Let's go to Cambodia first, Daniel.
Sure. Well, before we start, thank you guys for having us. Excited to be here. We've been in touch for a while. Happy we made it happen. So yeah, quickly about kind of how this whole adventure started. I'm from Venezuela, so grew up there. Luckily enjoying a lot of rums back then. Never really thought about it too much. It wasn't really a big thing back then. But after I left the country, rum really became kind of that thing that brought Venezuelans together, right? So anytime we ran into a Venezuelan, whether it be in the US or Europe or eventually here in Asia, we always brought a nice bottle of rum and kind of reconnected through that. So for us, it was really a way of kind of connecting with people, bringing back that connection to home, which a lot of us unfortunately lost. And then as for me personally, long story, but I ended up in Cambodia quite randomly, kind of essentially getting kicked out of the US. I got a letter after about a month before my graduation, pretty much saying, you have 30 days to leave the country. No reason why. I said, you paid for my education. Thank you. But back then I was working with an organization called Engineers Without Borders, working on solar energy. And they invited me to come out here when they heard about my situation. So I pretty much got on the airplane without really knowing where Cambodia was on the map. Kind of figured that out on the map screen on the airplane seat. And here it was, just for an adventure for a summer to explore something new. Always thinking I was going to go back right away or figure something out. But I landed here. Many things that I loved about this place. One of them being the amazing opportunities in this country. Another one, and connecting it to your question about the name, really this amazing generation of young Cambodians. I mean, Cambodia, I think, is like 50% is under like 20 years old, right? So it's really, really a young country, a country that has gone through a lot of bad stuff in recent history, unfortunately. But being here, you really see a whole different side to what Cambodia is and who Cambodians are, right? Incredible people, incredibly motivated, and kind of really saw a bright future for Cambodia. And I guess without getting too much into the story of Samai, the reason we named it Samai was because we wanted to create a product for Cambodia and for young Cambodians to represent that feeling, represent that kind of energy that we felt being here, right? And that's really what Samai is. Samai is actually a Khmer word that means like an era, something modern, a new generation looking into the future. Every time we ask, it's a slightly different definition, but it's always along those lines of something modern and kind of looking into the future and the positive side of it, right? So that's really where, from the very beginning, that name stuck, and it's kind of really representing what we want to do with Samai as a brand and as a product.
That's awesome. Part of that gets to what we'll talk about later is, that building a community around what you're doing. And I think the same thing is happening in Vietnam. Antoine, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into all this in Vietnam.
Thank you for the opportunity to present Sampan. Actually, the distillation is in the heart of my family. My both grandfather was farmer and alcohol makers, and I start the distillation. The first one I was 6-year-old, and I never stopped since then. Actually, so and I really would like to set up a distillery since I'm 8 years old, something like that. And something for me is magic, and I want to do. Yeah. And as I tell you, my family name comes from also the fact to make alcohol. I arrived in Vietnam in 2008, actually, so more than 15 years ago. Working in the wine in the industry at that time. Then I met my both business partner right now, Jan and Julien. And actually, the idea of making alcohol grow when I was in Asia, I started to live in Vietnam, then Hong Kong, and after Shanghai. And what I see, what I saw in Vietnam is high quality product with a very nice terroir, in Vietnam and also in Southeast Asia, in Cambodia with pepper, for example. You have high quality spices, products, fruits, many things that the rest of the world is not aware about. And actually, what I would like is to showcase some Vietnamese terroir through a rum production, because Vietnam is a fourth country in Southeast Asia about sugarcane production. Is a big sugar producer, but there was not rum production. So the idea at the base was to showcase endemic Vietnamese sugarcane plant through a French know-how process to make alcohol. And we choose a specific area in Vietnam, in central Vietnam, special sugarcane variety to make the Vietnamese rum and to express a Vietnamese terroir rum. So my first wishes was to work close to the terroir and to express the beautiful things that we can find in Vietnam. Yeah.
I love that. And it's kind of interesting. So Antoine, choosing the sugarcane juice, is it because of the influence of drinking like rhum agricole? Was that the reason why you went sugarcane instead of molasses?
Of course, yes, because sugarcane juice rum is a French rum, and of course, I grew up with this kind of rum, and is also because I love the link with the terroir that the sugarcane can provide. Sugarcane, you have 4,000 different varieties. In Vietnam, we have about 60 different varieties of sugarcane. So when we start, we try many different varieties. To finally end up with the local and endemic Vietnamese varieties.
I love that. And to flip it over to you, Daniel, I mean, knowing that in Venezuela, it's I think exclusively molasses. And so it's just interesting seeing both of you grow up with rum in your respective areas and be influenced by what you grew up drinking. So Daniel, I would assume same thing for you picking molasses because of having, I would imagine, Santa Teresa and brands like that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It was a big part of it was obviously it's the kind of rum that we grew up drinking and enjoying our whole lives. But we did try actually. Our first batch was made with sugarcane juice. Not official sales, but the first experiments that we did. Right. So we really, I mean, we wanted to be open, like kind of like what Antoine was mentioning. We, despite let's say the Venezuelan background and kind of personal motivation to do this, we wanted this to be a Cambodian product, right? So we did not want to close ourselves to this bias that we had. Of course, it's a big inspiration, but we tried everything. We did it at the end for different reasons. Yes, at the end, it's what we liked after testing different things, but also a lot of kind of supply chain issues, pricing issues. So we really kind of consider all these things and ended up with molasses. One of the things here is that the molasses that we can find in Cambodia is incredibly rich. And as soon as we got those first lab tests, we saw, okay, this is an opportunity we can't miss. But going back to kind of, I guess, to highlight Antoine's point, the story that I always like to tell is that at the beginning, when we were here and we did not have the background that Antoine has. I was not distilling at 6 years old, although now I kind of wish I was. We didn't have that background, but we did see the opportunity, seeing, traveling Cambodia, missing rums, seeing sugarcane everywhere. Nobody was making rum. Our first idea was actually finding a Cambodian rum, even if it was moonshine, right? But we've literally been in villages that have a strong kind of moonshine. Everybody's doing some home distillation. These villages are surrounded by sugarcane fields, but everybody's still distilling rice. And this was a big kind of motivation behind it. It's like, look, guys, you have that tradition of distillation. You have incredible resources, like Antoine was mentioning, not only sugarcane, but other things. We need to create Cambodia's first rum and really kind of open up this kind of not education, but awareness of what can be done with distillation with local products.
Yeah. I think that the education part, you mentioned that a little bit. Living here where I am, there's not much awareness of rum outside of just one of the local brand or Bacardi, Captain Morgan, which seemed to be everywhere. How have you guys handled that? Were you able to build small communities? Did you build up like local fans that have sort of become your ambassadors in the community? Let us know about, kind of how that has gone for you.
But when I listen, Daniel, is quite similar also, because Vietnam is quite a young country as well. And it was exactly the same, a lot of sugarcane. There is more than 300,000 hectares of sugarcane in Vietnam, but everything is made with a rice base. And there is a lot of similarities. And Vietnam also, once again, is quite young country, and all the cocktail tiki bar is just arrived the past years in Vietnam. So it start to kick in Vietnam, all the cocktail bars. So all this trend is quite new, and rum is an excellent base to make cocktails. So it starts to grow. So rum is quite new also in Vietnam, but here people are quite proud, and the fact to have a local product will interest them. So the fact to be local, to be premium, and to be natural will also be into the move of a lot of hotels, because a lot of hotels here use local ingredients. By contracts,
Sure.
they need to use 40% of local product to avoid all the importation, etc. So we are also into this trend that's local and trend products. So in Vietnam actually is growing.
Yeah. How about you, Dan? You
I would
guys have
say
a
it's
bar on site as well, right? So you're able to use that as a platform for education as well as doing your events around town, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess very similar to what Anton said. We've taken kind of two different approaches in parallel, right? One is really kind of that local awareness raising about what rum is. Even before we had our first bottling, we were already opening the distillery. Actually, this kind of background where we are, that's actually the distillery itself. On the other side over here, we actually have a nice big bar. And what we started doing that there was opening every Thursday night as a rum bar. So we had at one point a massive collection of rums from all over the world, to just kind of start that process of educating people, of creating a bit of awareness about what rum can be. Kind of what you were saying, Constantine. Before that, all you could find here were the basics, Havana Club, Bacardi, maybe a Zacapa if you were very lucky in the duty free. So we slowly wanted to create that. Once we launched our products, of course, we kind of focused on our products at the bar. But it's been great to see how, yes, the first few years it was packed with expats. And if you go, the last 2-3 years, it's every Thursday night is, I would say, about 90% Cambodian at this point. So it's taken a while, but it's good to see that transition. And that pride, like Antonio said, it's that pride of a local product. Now, the other thing that we did in parallel, which helped in that process locally as well, was getting that international recognition, right? Because unfortunately, even in Cambodia, the reputation of Cambodian products historically hasn't been great. So, but once they started seeing that a Cambodian product was being recognized in international competitions around the world, then that pride kicked in, and that curiosity about trying it really kicked in. So having those two things in parallel has really kind of helped us create that awareness and that passion for rum in Cambodia.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just curious for both of you, as far as getting people interested. Was it going into bars and having people do tastes, or was it initially, I mean, Daniel, for you, was it offering daiquiris, and Antoine, for you, was it saying, hey, try our, unaged agricole style rum and like a tiponche? Was it a blend of both cocktails and tastings? How did you get people to, locals as well as expats who may not have known or thought about rum? What was the way to kind of get traction there?
Well, actually, at the distillery, the distillery is open to public. We do some tour and some visit, and we surprise people because, in the mind of a lot of people, the connection between Vietnam and rum is quite complicated, actually. But on site, yes, people can see all the production process. And actually, right now we are on the production. We receive sugarcane, we crush it, collect the juice, fermentation, distillation. So people are able to see and to touch. And like that, it would be easier to make people understand that it's possible to make a rum in Southeast Asia, where the sugarcane come from, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So voilà, and on site, we show everything we are doing, all the production step. We show to people, to local, to tourists, and to expat. And we are developing also a small bar and just nearby the distillery to be able to be like a workshop for people who come to see us to understand better what we do and how we do it.
Okay. No, and that's awesome. And I would hope, Antoine, that there's a pear liqueur sampan cocktail out there somewhere for the 8-year-old or the 6-year-old distiller that grew up distilling pears.
Yeah.
And Daniel, was it kind of the same thing for you as well, of just kind of that similar approach?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having the distillery as a place that people can come visit and tour and see, like, the production from beginning to end, is definitely key. In terms of the end of having that conversation and what are you actually giving them to drink? It's a combination, right? It's usually, especially at the beginning, I always like to ask people here, like they wouldn't know what rum was, right? But then the next question would be, okay, tell me 3 of your favorite cocktails. And I could guarantee that at least one of them was made with rum, right? And then just letting them know that opened up their eyes and, okay, cool, I really want to try that then, right? And so it was a mix. Of course, some people are more into cocktails, others are get more into the rum itself, but having them try both and seeing that connection was very helpful.
And just one last question. So sorry, Constantine. Do you guys ever come up to, or did you ever find it beneficial to maybe say it's like Arak? I mean, I know that Arak might just be specific to like Indonesia, though. Cane juice distillate, it's been in Indonesia for like 400 years, but I'm guessing that from the sound of it from both of you, it doesn't sound like it traveled anywhere.
For me, definitely in Cambodia, I think I would have had more blank stares if I said the word Arak than here. It's if it's not whiskey or cognac, it's rice wine. That's pretty much what historically has been had or known.
And Daniel, you mentioned just briefly, we've touched on the Kampot pepper. Explain to everybody, what is Kampot pepper, why you guys have a Kampot pepper rum, and how that came about and what the reception is.
Sure. So again, going back to the I guess the subject we keep coming back to of really highlighting, in my case, Cambodia, and Antoine's case, Vietnam, is really about the local flavors that, like the quality, the terroir, and we tried many things. We tried different spices and botanicals and flavors. We were always interested in the Kampot pepper. Kampot pepper is actually one of 2 peppers in the world that have a denomination of origin for its very unique flavor. I'm not an expert, but the way that it's been explained to me is that some peppers can be very spicy, others can be more on the sweeter side. Kampot pepper really has what's said to be a perfect balance between that sweetness, the spiciness, and that fresh peppering flavor, and that's why it's so well known. It has a crazy history, like Cambodia does. It almost disappeared. It's been brought back with the last 2 generations. So we wanted to try it as one of the first flavors, just out of curiosity. And the moment we tried that first drop that came out of the stills, we pretty much gave up on everything else. It's a very unique product, very unique flavor. And for us, the fact that it was already a product that was known from Cambodia was also a helpful kind of factor in making a decision to be our first and only spiced or flavored rum at the moment.
Yeah, which is really interesting. And one thing in talking with good old Fred from the Rum Cartel, is that he mentioned that Kampot pepper was pretty popular up until like the 50s or so in a lot of French cuisine. Antoine, is that because you seem to be familiar with it? Is it just because you live in the region, or is it something that was really popular at some point in time in French cuisine?
Yes, in French cuisine we use many kind of spirit to cook, some cognac, armagnac, etc. And according to what you cook, you will use a special spirits. Rum was much more for the dessert, for the cake, for these kind of things. And and bringing pepper like that into the rum will also bring rum at another level in the cuisine. Because cooking with pepper is amazing, cooking with rum is superb. So both together, this is super nice. So yes, it's something we like to use for cooking in the cuisine here.
That's crazy.
Talking about the French connection to Southeast Asia, of course, there was a large French presence during the colonial era. Did anybody make rum back then? Have you found evidence of a French distillery from 100 years ago?
In the past, yes, when the French was in the China, yes, there was a distillery. They got the monopoly about alcohol production between the Chinese and etc. But when the French left, they also leave the spirit production, the rum, star anise also production, because star anise is born in Vietnam and China. The motherland is here, so all the pastis actually is from a little bit Vietnam or China. But when the French left, yes, they also leave all the know-how about distillation, and everything was back to the rice based production.
Interesting. So it's just the know-how transferred to the local ingredients using the rice. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense though, because that's a huge crop, right? Like just the same as in the United States, we had a lot of wheat, and so all of a sudden bourbon became the most popular thing. Shifting gears, you guys have built these distilleries from the ground up. So I have a two-part question is, one, why having a rum presence at all, particularly in countries that had no idea what it was? And then we'll come back to the second part. But yeah, like just why having a rum focus in a completely new area and building a distillery from ground zero? That's some badass shit right there. I love it.
But Daniel, yeah.
Sure.
No, please go ahead.
I mean, I think that there's two reasons, if we're very honest. One is that very selfish reason of having your own rum. That was always a dream. We always said, no matter what happens, worst thing that could happen is we end up with a lot of free rum and a nice apartment to live in, right?
I share this point also.
So that's the selfish reason. But I think what turned it from a fun project between a couple of friends here, just playing around, learning about rums and kind of experimenting into what it is today and what we want it to be, is a combination of a lot of the points that we already mentioned, right? It's that the history of the region, maybe not specifically for Cambodia or Vietnam, but rum comes from Southeast Asia, sugarcane comes from Southeast Asia. Right? The quality of the ingredients, including sugarcane, and in our case, molasses, are incredible, right? The temperature for obviously growing the raw materials, but also importantly for aging, is perfect, right? So it's a combination of all these opportunities that came about, and again, a way for us to kind of combine a little bit of our background and our heritage. In my case, mostly drinking rum back at home, and seeing this opportunity here, and the love that we have for Cambodia, and kind of creating something for them. It kind of all came together into making rum and setting up a distillery here. And for us, having the distillery itself was a very important part. We didn't just want to be a brand and we purchase some rum from somewhere else. We really wanted this to be 100% Cambodian rum.
Yeah, but it's quite similar also on our side at the distillery of Indochine. All expect the fact to create a distillery because it's something I would like to do, transform the product, etc. In Southeast Asia, it's quite new, so building the new category is quite exciting also. 25 years ago, the made in Japan was shit quality. Today is amazing. And I think in Southeast Asia now, the mentality and the things are changing. The made in Southeast Asia become better and better, high quality. And it's quite interesting that we can do something high quality with local product, ingredient, and process, and to be part of the global things in the rum industry. Yeah.
No, I love it. And the second part of that question is building distilleries from the ground up. Constantine is building a distillery in Fiji. I'm just curious to know what have you guys learned in building distilleries, and if there's any fun stories of issues that you've had to overcome. Antoine's like already rolling
You
his
see the
eyes, going, "Oh
faces
God,
already."
here we go, here we go."
Constantine, don't do it. You still have time.
Wait, what was the advice that you got from the master distiller at South Pacific Distillers in Fiji, Constantine? What was it?
Oh, he said, first of all, he said, if you're thinking about building a distillery, don't, number one. The second thing he said was, the fastest way to take a large fortune and turn it into a small fortune is to build a distillery. Yeah. So, I mean, doing a distillery has got to be hard anywhere, I'm sure. But, in the developing world, it can be a challenge. You're not quite as connected. Logistics, supply, all that stuff. I mean, what have you guys faced? I mean, I know this could be another 2-hour segment, but what are just some big ones that have jumped out at you that may be unexpected or just mind blowing in the difficulty?
But for the administration, in Vietnam 7 years ago, the craft distillery didn't exist about administration. So when you talk about with administration, it was distillery, but for million liter for industrial process and production. So we need to create the category for the administration. After also for the custom, when we import the column distillation process, the custom would like that we set up everything at the port to see what it looks like. To get the production license, we need to set up everything to start the production, to show what we are producing, and then the administration will say yes or no if we can get the production license. So you invest everything, build everything, but during 3 months, I tell you, you don't sleep well waiting for the production
You got
license.
to build the whole thing and then produce it, and then they'll say if you
God.
can produce or not.
Yes, exactly.
How do you have a few more gray hairs
months,
from that,
yeah.
Antoine? Like, oh my God, like I would just imagine just not being able to sleep and just sitting there going, okay.
So yeah, you put everything on the table, all in, and you are waiting, yes or no.
Yeah, no pressure. Oh my God.
How about you, Daniel? How has it been in Cambodia you guys have been around for a while, but still, how was it coming up?
Yeah, I think for us, it's actually the complete opposite. In the sense that, like I mentioned several times, we did not come from this background of distilling. So for us, the challenges were more on what the hell are we doing? None of us have ever done it before, right? In Cambodia, similarly, I guess to Vietnam, there was no clear kind of craft distillery industry, but the kind of business environment here is a lot easier, right? So we were able to start right away. We were able to register our company. We were able to convince somehow the ministry to give us a license before we had anything set up. It was literally like an empty space, but we just kind of gave them an idea what we wanted to do. So from our side, also one of the positive things, Cambodia, is actually a very, very easy place to do business, at least in the last, 10 years, I would say. As a foreigner, they make it very easy. I think, Antoine, correct me if I'm wrong, but Vietnam is a bit more challenging for foreigners to do business in. So from our side, the administration side was very straightforward. It was more the fact is we were doing this for fun, learning and getting more and more into it really fast. The project kept growing. We didn't have that background, that experience. So it was just a steep learning curve from distillation to branding to distribution, sales. A big adventure. I think if we always joke that if somebody had told us these things at the beginning, we would have all laughed and kept drinking. But I'm glad that nobody did, because it's been a fun adventure for sure.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss for sure. Something Antoine said reminded me of this book. I don't know if you've read this. It's called Proof by Adam Rogers. And it's just about booze in general. But he says one thing in here that we've kind of touched on, not just in this episode, but in others. He says, William Faulkner is supposed to have said, civilization begins with distillation. But I would push it even further. Beyond just distilled spirits to wine, beer, mead, sake, all of it booze is civilization in a glass. And I think that's what we've just been hitting on. It captures everything down to its essence, and then we enjoy it and we enjoy life. So yeah, this is a great conversation.
It is.
Yeah. And I mean, just to see the passion of you both. And so I got to know, just we've talked to a few other distillers from Vanuatu to Boston to Crested Butte in the mountains of Colorado, and everybody has a fun story about how something went wrong. So we had one where our good friend Karen Hoskin, she has the distillery in the mountains of Colorado, and her barrels were above the bar that she had. Well, one night, one of the barrels erupted, or no, I think it was the molasses that was kept upstairs. And some
Molasses
point,
or a ferment or something
something like that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are just sitting there at the bar, and molasses starts just dripping down on them. Or we had Pierre-Luc from Vanuatu, or 83 Islands, and he opened a can of molasses that basically exploded on him, like you see in the cartoons. And so I'm just curious to know, did you guys have any situations? Constantine even had one where he bottomed out his truck trying to get molasses back. So
my car still has molasses in it.
any fun stories that you guys can tell about something that went wrong?
But yes, for the fermentation tank, but the fact that the fog get out of the tank, and when you wake up on the morning, you have foam everywhere in the distillery. And also because when I do the distillation, the column distillation process take 4 days and 4 nights nonstop, and I have to be in front of the alembic every 40 minutes to check the gas, to check the flow, to check the pump, and etc. And sometimes when there is no distillation, I wake up, panic at 4 on the morning, to the alembic to, fuck, yes, it's off today.
Oh my God. So yeah, it's just kind of like, instead of waking up and going, oh my God, I didn't do my homework 30 years after homework.
Checking,
okay, I didn't check the still. I didn't check the still.
Today's distillation. So my life is set up around the column still distillation.
Oh man.
Man. Daniel, what about you? Any distillery disasters?
I was trying to think. I guess we've been quite lucky. Nothing really that serious, except the typical molasses story. I think that everybody has one of those. We did come in one day to the distillery, and somebody was carrying a big tank of molasses in our forklift and forgot to lower it to go through a door. So the whole tank just collapsed down. We had about 2-3 centimeters of molasses throughout the entire floor. And as you guys know, I mean, it's the most
still there, I'm sure.
Still smell.
It smells good at first.
Sorry?
It smells good at first.
Oh yeah. The first 5 seconds, and then you realize everything else is sticky. But yeah, I think that's, other than those kind of stories, nothing major so far. Knock on wood.
Good.
Oh well, yeah. Fingers crossed. Good vibes for both of you.
Sure.
And to shift gears ever so slightly, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit earlier on the episode. Our lovely guests, Daniel and Antoine, you were in completely ground zero where there was no awareness. So it was kind of a total blank canvas. Constantine, I feel like you and I are a little bit more akin, because here in the US, it's such a huge rum market. Well, the number one selling rum is Captain Morgan. And when people think of rum here, the work that I'm focused on is showing people that there's more than dragonberry flavored Bacardi, or nothing against Bacardi, but people think flavored rums or spiced rums or rums too sweet. I had it in college. And so I guess I'm just curious to know, is how have you guys been able to shape those markets? Do you come up against those preconceptions, or since you have a blank canvas, I guess it has to be pretty great to not have to work against people not taking the category seriously, right?
I think it's 2 different scenarios, right? Like locally, yes, it's a bit easier. Like we were mentioning before, it's a bit more of a blank canvas, and it's more about creating the awareness, and that local product helps a lot on these international recognitions. But I mean, for us, export is a big part of our business. And there for sure, we run into two things: what you just mentioned about rum, and unfortunately the historical perception of Cambodia. And I remember our first conferences that we went to, Whiskey Live Singapore was one of the first. And I remember people walked by our booth and kind of saw Cambodia and just kind of ran past our booth to the next one. Right? That changed very quickly. Right? That is now like, oh man, it's that rum from Cambodia. We need to go try it. But at the beginning, that was a huge challenge and kind of depressing sometimes, hearing that people that didn't even get a chance to try it. Right? I mean, going back to the rum, I think this is why, even though we're young and we're still kind of working on things and improving, and hopefully every batch gets better, we've always focused on Samai being a premium brand, right? Which makes it a huge challenge, because if you talk to anybody, the first thing they'll tell you is, just launch a cash flow, a cheap product, generate cash flow, build your business, and then go for the premium, which is what most of the big brands have done in the past. We didn't want that. We didn't want that kind of reputation for the brand and for Samai, with the additional challenge of the Cambodian background. So it's been a big challenge. That focus has paid off, focused on really creating premium products. Premium doesn't mean kind of 30-year-old age rum. You can have something very, very good in just a couple of years, even a white rum that can be premium, right? And that's part of the education, that's part of the awareness raising. And every market is different. I think the US is a particular challenge. I think Europe is a little bit kind of more developed in kind of that understanding of what rum can be already. But yeah, the US is a big challenge. Like you said, it's Captain Morgan, it's drunk nights at college. And it's changing though, thanks. I mean, in a big part of the work that you guys have been doing, that's definitely helping a lot. So yeah, I think for now we'll leave that to you guys until we actually enter the US market. But yeah, no, it's this kind of work, these kind of conversations that are really shifting the market.
Well, and with you guys putting out premium products, and so I was working with Kohana Rum. So they are a single estate distillery. They only release single cane varietals. What I found is with an unaged agricole, if you will, I always say, oh, you like agave, you have to try this agricole blanc from Naissant or La Févrite or wherever. And a lot of those people will go, oh my God, I get it. Or like with anything that's a view agricole, like I find that either bourbon or rye drinkers will go, holy shit, I had no idea that rum could taste like this. So that's the work that we do, but it's a nice it's a nice circle. You guys make some great stuff. We get to talk about it, and then we get to share it, and then we're greasing the wheels together. And the what's the saying? The rising tide raises all boats. So just keep making great stuff, and I am going to get Sampan in my collection, Antoine, one way or another, even if I have to spend premium prices from Excellence. And just well, actually, before we continue, Antoine, any kind of thing to add on educating markets and kind of all of those things?
Yes, because in Vietnam you have two things. First, rum is new, and the premium made in Vietnam is new as well. So we need to show and to educate people. So this is an end work. So with a team, with a distributor team, we go all the time to the bar, to the restaurant, to make some training, to showcase, to explain what we are doing, because we need to show and to talk about that, to make people know about that. So this is a very long process, but people is very well received and willing to have such a product and education. Actually, they are waiting for such presentation and investment. Actually,
sure. Yeah, it's just as we've been saying here in the US for a while, I'm sure you guys have too, liquid to lips. That's really the only way to get people to do it. And my joke that I tell everybody is I'm doing God's work here, just with some lovely distilled spirits. And I know that we only have a couple of minutes left here, but I have one more question. But Constantine, what else would you like to ask?
Just what we talked about was the usual suspects in the market, Bacardi, Captain Morgan. But as rum's growing, it's getting a bit more crowded. How have you found your niche to get in your product to market? Where are you connecting with people, and where have you seen the good feedback where you're going to expand, for example, in other markets?
I mean, I think it's a constant discussion internally as how we adapt, and the market, like you said, it's changing very fast, right? Like we've been mentioning, the whole Cambodia, and in some cases Vietnam, is already a big appeal, a big kind of point of differentiation. Premium rum made from Cambodia, made from Vietnam. I think that's already a very good starting point. But at the end, it's also it comes to the liquid, like you were saying, right? The things we do in the fermentation and the distillation and the aging to, the story is kind of what attracts people to willing to try it. But once they try it, they need to feel something unique, something different, right? And that's really kind of the hard work we do behind the scenes, even though the story and the brand is what everybody sees. It's really all that hard work by the production team and creating something that, actually stands out and actually represents Cambodia in our case. The reception has been incredibly positive. In our case, highlighting the uniqueness of the camper pepper has been key in that process. That really highlights that even more. It's something that it's a product that, even when we enter in competitions, it's hard to even define it where it lands. It's really a category of its own at this point.
Sure.
They haven't tried anything even similar to it. So that helps, having that very unique product to then where it kind of opens people up to trying the rest of the portfolio. But yeah, I guess the second part of your question is about the reception. Again, so far, very, very positive. We have been in Europe and Asia for many years now, expanding quite a lot in both markets. And we are aiming to enter the US. Can't promise, but hopefully, let's say early next year, if not earlier than that. Our challenge really has been very limited production capacity, right? So it's an industry that, unfortunately, growing organically is very challenging. It's very capital intensive. It's very time intensive with the aging. So it's a bigger challenge to kind of grow little by little, and that's kind of what we've been working on, to really increase that capacity and be able to kind of bring Samai to more markets around the world.
Can't get to the US fast enough, that's for sure. And Antoine, is Sampan have any plans on getting to the US? Please, for the love of God, please, please, please.
Alors, we opened we started the business of the distribution in September 2019, and COVID arrived quite quickly after that. Yeah. So everything about local distribution, because everything was closed, we was new, so it was quite complicated. So we push a lot the export to stay alive, actually. Mm-hmm. Today we are in 24 countries, Europe, Asia, and Australia. We wish to go to US, but US is not one country, it's 52 countries about
so
alcohol
hard.
But yes, we are working on that. And hopefully we will be able to come soon in the US market. Yeah.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed. And Antoine, you and I should chat, because I do know some importers that are very interested in bringing in some very, very good quality stuff. And I'm just absolutely have a own personal angle here on this, because I want your rum in the US, and yours too, Daniel. I want all the good stuff here. Because again, the more that we can showcase that rum is the world's most diverse spirit, it can grow anywhere, and it's made by good humans doing amazing things that are very passionate about this, it's going to be better for everybody. So again, it goes back to, you guys make good stuff, then we promote it and talk about it, then it makes people want it, and then it's the small pebbles that start the avalanche, So I know that we're have about 10 minutes or so left. Constantine, what else do we need to cover before we let our guests enjoy the rest of their days and mornings?
Yeah, the future, I think we've talked about. Both of you have grown, you've developed your products, you've got a reputation now of producing premium products. But the problem is that Daniel highlighted is just the production is sort of capped, right? Any growth plans, any new investment coming online so that we can see if you guys are going to get more of this great stuff out to the world?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned, that's our main challenge so far. We do have big plans. We took kind of the last few years and during COVID to kind of restructure the company and kind of rethink the whole strategy. And we have big expansion plans coming. We just signed a lease for a new distillery here in Cambodia, expanding our production significantly, close to 5 times what we're doing at the moment in the next couple of years.
There you go.
And there is really focusing on a few new exciting kind of products that I can't mention too much about, but I'm really excited about. And then just pushing that kind of complete portfolio out to new markets.
Nice. Antoine, on your side, you talked about the still. You guys have a still, I think it's the Sofac still.
Yes.
The friend, if you haven't seen one of those, look it up online. Beautiful old still. And I think they used to take these and carry them around the countryside to produce Armagnac in France, but you have a bigger version of that. Any plans to go, to produce more, or I think more importantly, so you don't have to wake up every 40 minutes and check your still for 4 days in a row? What are your growth plans?
No, the growth, we already grow last year in 2023. We tripled the capacity of the production, investing in the fermentation tank and a bigger mill and crusher. So last year we produced 50,000 liters of rum up to 70%. We start with 12 barrels in 2018. I have 350 barrels right now, and the objective is to reach 1,000 barrels within 3 years. So now we'll expand. My objective also is to invest in the production field. I would like to grow my own sugarcane, work closer with the farmers to have a cycle from the day you put the sugarcane into the ground until the bottling. We would like also, because I have a column, as you said, but I think we will invest in the pot still to be able to make some blend and to have different kind and type of juice, to make some new things, new limited editions, and to be more creative.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an art, right? So you can actually improve your choices and build your choices of what to create with your palate, I think there. The last couple minutes we have, tell us, where can we find out more about you? What's your social media, your webpage? Antoine, where can we find more about Sampan?
Hello, but you can find us on Facebook, Instagram at Distillery d'Indochine. Actually, I didn't use the same name than Sampan for the distillery because my willing is also to make some different spirits. I'm working on the pastis, I'm working on liquors. Like that, under the umbrella of Distillery d'Indochine, we can do many different things. But the base will remain Sampan. So Distillery d'Indochine, this is where you can find us on all social media and also on internet.
Nice. Daniel, where can we find more about Samai?
I mean, I guess the same, samaidistillery.com, all the socials, usually Samai Distillery. We also have one called Samai Rum, one that focuses a bit more on the product, the other more on the distillery. Feel free to reach out to me directly. You can find our contacts on the websites. And beyond the direct contacts, we do have a lot of distributors, both in Europe and Asia, where you can also contact them directly, organize tastings. And of course, if you can make it out here, always happy to welcome you guys for a little tour, tasting. That's what we're here for.
Awesome. That could be something that we think about doing, Constantine, of doing a rum society, rum curious, and to the rum tour. If we did that could be really fun.
Asia tour. Yeah.
100%. And then you piggyback, maybe going to see Luisita in the Philippines. And then we can do three tours and do all of that loveliness. First and foremost, guys, thank you so much for your time. I love seeing the passion. I am ready to run through a wall right now for rum. I love it. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for all of our listeners for the support and everything that you guys do. We actually have a super exciting episode as well next month. And so it's taken us, what is this, 10 episodes to finally focus on the Caribbean. So next month, we're going to be highlighting National Rums of Jamaica, Worthy Park, and Hampton. So we'll have Zan Kong, Martha Miller, and Christelle Harris on to talk about the history of Jamaican rum and all their lovely processes. So in the meantime, guys, if you have any questions for Constantine and I, feel free to send those in. And Daniel, Antoine, again, thank you so much. It's been an absolute treat chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank
Guys.
you for the
Awesome.
invitation. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
See you next time, guys.
See you next time. Goodbye.
See you. Thank you.